Hey, good morning, good people. Today I got the owners of Goshen. If you guys could step in and introduce yourself, you can go first, Nathaniel.
Yeah, it's Nathaniel representing Goshen. We're here. It's early, but we're here.
Yeah, we are. This is Sonia Adams, and I want to say Happy Valentine's Day to my Valentine, Nathaniel, and Happy Valentine's Day to all the listeners.
So if you guys could just tell me a little bit about what you do and about Goshen.
Well, just let me think briefly, and then I'm going to leave very quickly so you can take it from here. It's a gourmet market. We the market, we a destination, and we're evolving. So currently we're in Hyattsville, 5105 Baltimore Avenue, and I've been building for about 18 months, and Jesus has blessed us mightily, and our cup runneth over. So that's my testimony.
Adding on, piggybacking, Nathaniel, it is a gourmet market. It's also, I'm going to say, we created it to be a place of community. So, we're not just there to sell products. Of course, as a business, bottom line is sales, but we wanted to create a space for our friends, for our family, for new friends, to make new friends. So it's a community space. It's rare when you go into a store or an establishment and you forge relationships, and we want to be that place where relationships are forged.
Yeah, that is a good thing about keeping it close. Everybody wants to come back to a place where they feel a relationship at or relationship with.
Right. Now, I was just going to say, you remember that show with Ted Danson? I can't remember the name of the show. It was a popular
Cheers
show.
Or something?
Cheers, right. So, it's going to be Cheers without the beer.
Right, where everybody knows your name, right?
Everybody knows your name, yeah.
But at the same time, it's intoxicating.
No
right.
doubt, no doubt. It has to be intoxicating, and provocative is the word I like to use. So where did the name Goshen come from?
So Goshen, and after I do this, I'm really out of here. Goshen is a biblical reference to the Hebrews. The Hebrews settled in Goshen, which was in Egypt, the superpower of the world, and Joseph, the patriarch, brothers sold them into enslavement. They betrayed them, and God was with him, and God blessed him to be second in command to Pharaoh himself, blessed him to be Pharaoh's counselor. In the process of time, there was a famine in the land, and he was used by God to keep his brothers alive. So it's a beautiful story of forgiveness, and that's the power of forgiveness. When you forgive, God, Jesus Christ, will bless you. He will put you in a large place. So I'm going to say amen. And all you listeners out there that got a testimony, let me hear that amen.
Amen.
Amen. He's God alone. Amen.
So how did you guys meet? Since y'all both on here, how did y'all meet?
Oh, that's a long story. Do we have enough time?
I mean, long stories can be good stories.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we met in high school. But I didn't pay him any mind. I paid him no mind.
Y'all
But she knew who I
know.
was. She knew who I was.
Yeah, I knew
who
who
I
you
am.
were. Mhm.
And she knows who I am.
Yep, I know who you are. And it was probably about, I don't know, 17, 20 years after high school that we reunited. I was getting ready to run over him at a gas station.
Okay.
He was on a motorcycle and I was in a Volvo. And this, reckless motorcycle driver, i.e. my husband, came right in front of my car as I was pulling off. And I was like, there goes Timothy. And that was the start of the love. That was the start of the love story.
What was the factor? I mean, I know even just being married is not easy, but being married and having a business together, are there pros and cons, or how do you guys handle that?
Well, you know what? We've been married 11 years. No, actually, it'll be 11 years in July. So 10 years and some change. And we didn't really have I'll say a guide or a mentor, to show us, hey, this is what's going to happen when you get married and you have a business together. I will say that in our learning, kind of as we're going through it, that you have to create a line of demarcation between the business and the marriage. Because if you don't, you tend to think that, what happens in the business is also happening in the marriage. And, the two mixed together, I think it's a bad mix. So you gotta say, here's the marriage, here's the business. And keep the two separate, because, as you're in business, and especially in a kitchen, with knives and stuff like that, with those shucking tools, it can be dangerous. So, you want to understand that when you're in business, this is just business. And any words we say in business, that's where it was. Then we got to flip to, the marriage side and build that. So it is I'm going to say it's not an easy thing, but it certainly is doable. And I'm happy to build something with my husband, because he was right there when things happened. You know what I mean? There's that benefit of, having my husband right there in the moment when something happened at work, and not having to come home and tell them about it and kind of have them understand it. He was right there. But then the flip side of it too is, if something happens that wasn't so great, it could spill over into the relationship, between husband and wife. So you just have to be cognizant of, the two lanes. I would not try to mix them.
Yeah. I know when I met y'all at Union Market, I was like, oh, they're married and they working together? I was like, this is, honestly, I was like, that's, to me, in my opinion, just only because, everybody's different, but me, I love business and I love working, point blank, just working, no matter what I'm doing, I just love to work. So if I could have my partner, my wife, with me in that, I was like, man, that would be the dream, we could grind together, come up together.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, it's not all sweet times, but I guess you live and you learn from everything.
Yeah, I mean, culturally, I think it may seem a little bit different, in America to have a family working together. And I think historically families work together. But, in the culture that we're in now, it just seems to be more, everybody's isolated. Like one person works here, one spouse works here, another one works there, and they, get together on the weekend if they do. And, I find it, inspiring too, because we can demonstrate to the world that, husband and wife can work together. I mean, you remember at Union Market, we would have, Joseph, our son, literally underneath the counter in a bassinet, or sometimes, he'd be in an ergo, or my back, or my husband's back, or, however. And it's just like, we're just going to grind this out. We're going to make it work.
Exactly.
So
that was the other part. I was like, yeah, I was just thinking, like, I forgot about that part. But yeah, that was the other, it's the whole family unit right here working together. Got the baby on the back, or like you said, the bassinet, and y'all are just getting it in, doing what you got to do what you love.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I think it's a great reminder to people to actually see family working together, because I feel like family is disintegrating, in some sense, in society. There's all this like Lone Ranger mentality, and honestly, we got to work together. A strong family really is a strong nation.
No doubt. So, how did you know, or how did y'all know it was time to start a business? Like, did this come from a passion, or how did it build up? Like, I guess you say the humble beginning.
My husband and I have both been business minded, I'll say, entrepreneurial minded. It's just like ingrained in us. I know for me personally, anytime I was at a job, I did well at the job, but I always knew I'm not going to be here for long. I always had like that thought in my mind, there's going to be a business. I'm going to have a business. I'm not going to be here as an employee. And I'm not knocking any employees at all. I just knew for me, I wanted to own a business. And so, this business, Goshen, really is it's like I'll say it was birthed out of, having a desire to help people with their health and well-being. Prior to Goshen, I had a business for 7 years, that was a colonic boutique. So I offered colonics, and started to see over that 7 years that people weren't really getting my thrust behind the business, which was to help encourage, your well-being. I felt like people were coming to me just to kind of clean them out,
Right.
And I was like, I don't want to be the Roto-Rooter person. And so I started making raw food, because I had met a guy who created a film. He was a producer of a film called Raw for 30 Days. And in this film, people who had type 2 diabetes were given raw food for 30 days. And then after the 30 days, they didn't have the type 2 diabetes. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to learn how to make this food. So I started incorporating, like little treats after people get a colonic. I'd say, hey, why don't you try this out? And then it just kind of dawned on me, people are going to eat more than they get colonic. So maybe I go in the other end. So that's when I just started, teaching myself, devouring everything I could about raw food, and just learning how to make it so that, I could still help people in terms of their health and well-being. And my husband, has a great, and offer this as, as a business where you're making this food, so that came into play. And I will say that, if you look back at your life, you'll find, hold on one second, I'm sorry.
We need to get new batteries for my toys.
Gotcha. This is a part of business. You gotta have the flexibility to have your kids, your marriage, your vision for your life. All that works together. But back to what I was saying about how we started. I've been in this whole health and wellness arena for as long as I can remember. I remember when my dad came in the house. I had to have been about 12, maybe 11 or 12 years old. And he said, get rid of all the pork. Get it out of here. He brought a big old Omega juicer into the house. And we would go down to Florida Avenue Market, which is today Union Market, and get these cases of grapefruits and oranges and all types of stuff and just juice. So, it's just something that's been instilled in me, and I know in my husband too, because my husband is always thinking about business. So it's just a great match.
That's kind of funny though, the Roto-Rooter.
Well, you know what? I said going in the top end, because it's all one long tube. A lot of people don't think that we're hollow, but we really are. Some people say shallow, but we're really hollow because that gastrointestinal tract is like a straw. It's like from the mouth to the anus, one long tube going through the middle of you. Yeah.
So it is Black History Month. What's the hardest thing about running a business while Black?
I don't know any other way. That's an excellent question, but it's not like I ran a business while white.
Right.
Or,
Indian
or whatever, but.
Right.
Do I find myself, discriminated against, that sort of thing?
I would say that, and just, because I would say in the market that you're in, I don't think a lot of African Americans are, now it's, kind of trending, so it's, easier, but before that, I know you said you had a juicer, when you were 12, but I don't remember, drinking or juicing I didn't know anything about it until I moved to D.C.
Wow. Where are you from? Where are you from, Gardner?
I'm from the Eastern Shore of Virginia.
Okay.
And maybe it's just because we was poor, but, maybe it was just above our head. But I really don't remember anything about, fresh juicing.
Yeah. Well, you know what? As far as being in business while Black, I will say that this type of food, this type of drinks and that sort of thing, I have found myself in situations where I'm the only African American, or the only woman, or if there were women, there was only maybe one or two others, and they were of different different ethnicities. But I think as like you said, as it's trending, it's definitely opened up more and more. More and more ethnicities are starting to see the importance of eating as close to nature as possible. Even being, the sole Black, or one of the few Blacks, one of the few African Americans in an industry, even in that, in my industry, I have not experienced a lot of racism. And it may be because the industry that I'm in, it's about health and wellness, and it would be really incongruent to be in that health and wellness and have, a whole lot of anger and racism and that sort of thing. It just kind of wouldn't work,
Yeah, that makes sense.
So having said that, when I was a waiter at Restaurant Nora, I was the only Black female, but I felt welcomed, I felt like, I was there to learn and they were willing to share. I don't know if your listeners may not know, but Restaurant Nora is the first organic restaurant in the nation. And so I felt like I was going into a whole different world. And then when, I was introduced to raw food, that was a whole different world, and it was filled with people who didn't really come from my background. But, entering that world, I felt welcomed. I did feel welcomed. There's something about food and then food that's in its most natural state. I think that when we're all around it and we're all consuming it, we're more together, more together as opposed to being, apart.
That's great. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
So, I know you talked about your great experience at Nora. How was your time at Rappahannock, or not Rappahannock, but Union Market?
Oh my gosh. I tell you, I loved Union Market. I loved, working amongst all the different artisans. And we met some incredible people. You're among them. And,
Thank you.
it was a really, fulfilling experience. This was our first time, in the retail arena. Prior to that, we would have our own private, what we call Superfood Saturdays, where we would share, Saturdays with friends and family, because we hadn't officially started. We hadn't officially started as a retail, establishment until Union Market. And so we were kind of behind the scenes doing Superfood Saturdays and then doing, some private chefing for a couple of NBA players. We weren't in any kind of a, limelight, if you will. But
Right.
Union Market was really a phenomenal experience, because while we were doing our thing, we got to meet other artisans and make new friends with, new clients, new comrades, really, because when you enter Union Market, it was like a buzz. It was like a beehive, on a Saturday or a Sunday, it was just always really busy. And then in the downtimes, like say on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, you got to talk to your fellow, Union Market vendors and just kind of share your knowledge. Because that was new for us. And it was good to talk with others to see what their experience was and learn from them. So it was great. I loved it.
Yeah, Union Market is a remarkable place. It's like the best of all worlds. I mean, you got a little bit of everything, and it's good for networking because somebody might not like oysters, but you got a burger spot. If they don't like burgers, you got your Goshen or dessert.
Right.
Something for everybody. That's right.
Everybody could sit down at a table and break bread.
What's one of the most extravagant events or things you think you've done in your career?
Okay, so the most extravagant thing that I've done in my career was to be pregnant and work 15 hours a day and then give birth on a Monday and be thankful that the market was closed on a Monday so that my husband could be there with me.
Wow.
And then, come back to work in like 2 weeks. No, 3 weeks. Maybe it was 3 weeks. I don't know. Ready to go.
I'm sure all the female listeners are on here just dropped the phone, took the earphones out, just stood up and gave you a and some of the male listeners.
Well, you know what? I'm going to make them, drop the phone one more time because I was 43 when I had Joseph, and I was called, it's called a geriatric pregnancy. They said, this is a geriatric pregnancy. And I was like, you guys don't have a better word for this? And I'm going to tell you, I showed him geriatric pregnancy because we had Joseph on a queen-size bed, no epidural, no Pitocin, in 3 hours flat.
Wow.
We were done. You know? So that's a geriatric pregnancy for you. And I will say this, that I think working, you know, constantly throughout the pregnancy, like up until the day my son was born, helped with the help with the delivery.
No doubt.
You know?
Oh, wow.
There was nothing sedentary about my lifestyle, so that was great.
Right. And did you, I know, craving. So do you eat meat or no?
Now, I'm gonna tell you, that's always a jaded question because it's kind of like asking, you know, a pastry chef, do they just eat cupcakes?
Okay.
You know, I'm a raw vegan chef. I eat meat at times, but even deeper than that, in America, you know, people ask me all the time, am I vegan? And I'll say, I don't know anybody in America who is a vegan because genetically modified food is not labeled in America. So if you're putting the genes of a fish into a tomato, are you still a vegan? No. You know?
Interesting.
I don't think they're already vegan. I mean, I'll tell anybody, no, you're not a vegan. You think you're a vegan, but no, you're not a vegan. Only because you don't know what you're eating. Now, you can, you know, aspire to that and, you know, eat fruits and vegetables, but then again, I'm going to be like, well, how do you know that's a fruit or a vegetable?
Let's talk a little bit about the Goshen menu. What do you guys serve?
We're going to do Fridays and Saturdays starting off, noon to 8, and we're going to start on the 23rd. We've had a couple of soft openings, you know, where we had friends and family come over, you know, for juices and that sort of thing. But yeah, so we're going to start off and then expand as it grows.
Right.
Yeah. And you asked about the menu, what we're going to serve.
Yes.
So we're still going to have the raw vegan fare that we had at Union Market, the juices, also. But in addition to that, we're going to add a few more pieces to it because we've expanded it to be a market. So you'll find soaps, you'll find candles, you'll find incense, you'll find olive oils, all of the, I'll say, like accoutrements that go along with a healthy lifestyle. So it'll be a little bit expanded. We do plan on focusing on providing work from artisans, local artisans. You know, whoever comes in the door will see that, okay, this soap is made by somebody in the area and they've used natural products, you know, that to the best of their knowledge, right? Because that's all we can say, to the best of our knowledge. But yeah, so it's going to be more of a market. And in addition to that, we're going to have classes or seminars, have people come in. So for example, you know, we have an artisan who specializes in skincare. So she'll come in, she'll talk a little bit about the importance of caring for your skin, how to do that, best practices and that sort of thing. So the artisans, we're actually going to showcase the artisans.
That's great. I'll be to that one. Nothing like a good facial. So as far as I know, at Union Market, you had that. I don't even know exactly what I ate, but that was like my favorite item. It had like the bread with a filling, and it had like cranberries or raisins in it.
Oh, the sunshine salad sandwich.
Oh my gosh, that was delicious.
And that was cherries. That was cherries.
Cherries, okay.
Yeah. Yes. We're definitely going to have that. That is a favorite amongst many.
Is that going to be on the new menu?
Oh,
right in these
absolutely.
spots?
Absolutely. When we first open up, the strategy that we're implementing is to bring back all the oldies, like let people reacquaint themselves with what they remembered from Union Market and then add to it. You know what I mean? Because I'm going to tell you, if I had a spot that I love to go to and they were closed for a year and a half and I went back and it was all new stuff, I would be pissed.
Right.
I would. So I would be like, so we have to roll out the oldies. Got to roll out the standbys, the things that really resonated with folks.
Could you talk about a couple other of your menu items?
Sure. So, I always like to start with dessert.
Start with dessert. All right, easy enough.
So dessert, we're going to bring back our old standards, which is the pumpkin surprise, which is like a pumpkin pie or sweet potato pie, but neither sweet potato or pumpkin is used. Just carrots and cashews, a little cinnamon and nutmeg. We're going to have our Cocoa City, which is our chocolate dessert. We're going to have lemon coconut macaroons. And I'm adding a couple of things so that nobody gets mad, but I think they'll be happy. But we're going to have things like apple pops. We may have, as a standard, our tiramisu. That was something that we just brought out every now and again, and people would be so mad that we didn't have that regularly, but I think it's going to be a regular menu item. And then as far as entrees go, of course, our zucchini pasta, our sunshine salad, our spring rolls. But we're going to add a couple of things to the lineup in terms of this is my focus now. Like I'm really going to drive home the importance of rebuilding people's microbiomes. I know that's like a weird word, but I want to help rebuild people's guts. We've lost our guts. So everything that I'll be producing is really there to rebuild and sustain your gut. It's going to taste great. You're going to eat it anyway. You'd probably eat it whether you knew it was rebuilding your gut or not. But that's right. The place I'm coming from. I want to rebuild your gut. We're also going to include things from other artisans, but everything will be scrutinized in terms of, where it's coming from, where it's sourced, and that sort of thing, because we don't want to promote health and then not, be cognizant of where we're getting things from. So, yeah, but our menu is going to be awesome.
Great. I'm excited. And,
yeah.
I'll be looking for that invite.
Say it again?
I said, and I'll be looking for that invite.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You're always welcome. Always welcome. Now, I got a question for you. When you're shucking oysters, have you ever found a pearl? This is how much I know about oysters.
So, yes, of course. I found some pearls. So majority of the time you won't find pearls in farm-raised oysters.
And what kind of oysters?
In farm-raised oysters.
Farm-raised oysters. Okay.
Right. So basically, you got farm-raised oysters and you got wild oysters. Wild oysters just do their thing. You don't really need to really cultivate or mess with them. They're gonna grow. Farm-raised oysters are like your little babies. You take care of them from day one, or even before they even thought about them. They're cultivated, and then once the oyster farmer gets them, he treats them like a baby because you have to baby them really. It's different steps and stages you go through before you can even actually put them all the way in the water, in cages, because you don't want predators to get them. So there's different types of bags or cages you can put them in. So, you won't lose your babies.
Wow. Yeah. That sounds like being a small business owner.
Exactly. Exactly. Right. I mean, oysters are becoming big business now. They're trending also. I guess that's why, I'm doing what I'm doing.
Wow. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Good.
How often do you find a pearl? Like out of every 100, oysters that you shuck, how many pearls?
Like I said, it all depends on the oyster, first of all. But with wild oysters, depending on the area, I think, because I don't know what the area is, but I know when I used to shuck on the Eastern Shore, and we would get oysters in from like Connecticut and Louisiana, and, Texas. Sometimes I'm not gonna say every few, but I would say like at least a couple in every bag or every sack, you could find some small pearls. None were real big.
Yeah.
But it all depends on, I guess it depends on the area, and maybe it doesn't depend on the area, but, the oysters that we know and eat are not naturally like pearl-bearing oysters. It is another oyster type that's their job, to make pearls. So in every oyster, you have pearls.
Okay. See, I learned something new. I didn't even know that.
That's what
that
I'm
makes
for.
sense. Okay, right. Yeah. To dispel all the myths about oysters.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I'm gonna ask, what's Goshen's end goal?
What's Goshen's end goal? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Well, our vision really is to expand, and in that expansion, we want to see Goshen in different ways. So it's not going to be a standardized Goshen in terms of how it looks. You know how you have McDonald's and all of them have the golden arches and all of them have, like signature things. Well, and it wouldn't be a McDonald's without that. But Goshen is going to be a little bit different. We want to have literally a Goshen in every city. And within that city, we want it to be like that city, but have a thrust towards health and wellness. So, if that city loves ping pong, let's have some ping pong inside of Goshen. If that city loves oysters, maybe we'll have some pearls hanging around. I don't know, but it's just gonna bring out the best in that city, just like we want to bring out the best in each person.
Right. I don't know if you remember, but when you guys was in Union Market, I was talking to Nathaniel, and I told him, I said, we should come together, Goshen and Garden Douglas, we should come together as Goshen Ocean.
You know what? I'm going to tell you, that is an awesome idea, because that is raw food.
It's very raw.
It's very raw, and I don't see a problem with that. I think it would be a great marriage, because people have this sense that, raw food is just carrots and celery, and it's so much more than that. So much more than that, Yeah, I could see that. Goshen Ocean?
Goshen Ocean.
I love it. I got to run that past him. Again.
I don't know how.
I think it's a great idea.
I got in a little bit of a Facebook argument. Now, I was going to make it a podcast episode, and I probably will. But I got in a Facebook argument because I joined a vegan group on Facebook. And basically, they got real mad at me because I was posting about oysters, but from all my knowledge, I thought oysters were vegan.
No, they're not.
Exactly. Little old me, just thinking because they don't have a central nervous system that they're vegan. And then like, oh man, I got jumped. I got attacked. And I felt bad because I really had offended them just because of my, lack of knowledge.
And nobody shows you any grace. Isn't that terrible? Vegans can be some of the most critical people on the planet. And I want to, be the one who says, enough of being like a food Nazi. I mean, that's so ridiculous to, condemn one person or another because they don't eat the way you eat. So stupid. I will say that oysters are not vegan, but that's okay. That's okay. If it's an animal or anything really that is apart from plant life, it's considered not vegan.
And there we have it, straight from the.
There we have it, and don't be a food Nazi. Don't be a food Nazi. Yeah.
What would you tell someone starting out a business? They got the idea, they want to start a business, but just
starting a business.
Just afraid to make that next step. What would you say? I guess to edge them on a little bit, or what would you tell them to, prep yourself for?
You know what? I would tell people, start with why. Why do you want to start a business? And if that's strong enough, it's going to propel you whether I say something to you or not. A lot of folks get into business strictly to make money. And when the going gets tough, that's not even going to be enough. It's not going to be enough. So you have to start with whatever your why is. And, when the hard times come, you'll remember your why and you just keep going. Why we do this is because we feel like your body is a temple and it deserves the best. Life is not easy. And so you really want the vehicle that you're in to be at top speed. You want it to be at its best, to do whatever it is that you're put on this planet to do, whatever you're calling it. So that's always going to be hindered if you can't even get up a flight of stairs or get out of bed or you're constantly sick. How effective are you going to be in your calling? So that's our role and that's our why,
That's awesome. Know your why.
Yeah, you got to know your why.
In the meantime, I hope that people are really anticipating your opening.
Yeah.
So how can people follow you guys and find out, what's going on, where you'll be at, the opening, the food that you have?
Yeah. Well, so we haven't loaded up our website yet. It will be iamgoshen.com, but in the meantime, I'm going to give you my husband's phone number. So that you can call. Anybody can call to see what we're doing, and then he can let you know. But we're at 5105 Baltimore Avenue in Hyattsville, in the Arts District. And a funny story. I just found out that the area we're in is called SOHY. SOHY.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like Soho. But this
right.
is SOHY, South Hyattsville. You're probably going to make shirts, So,
there you go. You got it.
SOHY, yeah. We're in SOHY at 5105 Baltimore Avenue in Hyattsville, Maryland. And we're going to start off Fridays and Saturdays starting the 23rd, and we're just looking forward to welcoming everybody to our space.
That's great. So did you want to drop an email instead of a phone number, or?
You know what? I hate email, but I'll give you the email. It's GoshenCatering@gmail.com. GoshenCatering@gmail.com.
Okay. And there we have it. Is there anything you want to add? Any final thoughts?
I would just say, happy Valentine's Day to everybody, and love is the only way to go.
I love it, and thank you very much. And
Thank you,
I'll
Gardner.
thank you later when I see you.
All right. It was awesome. Take care.